Thank you for joining us this morning. Let's get the show started. The spike in the number of confirmed coronavirus cases has become worrisome, and the federal government is doing all it can to curb the spread. In fact, the Minister of Health during the meeting this week stated that the majority of the fatalities recorded were in persons over the age of 50 and those who had pre-existing ailments. But the WHO shocked the whole world yesterday by saying that the virus had moved to a new and dangerous stage. Meanwhile, many countries, including Nigeria, are trying to open up the economy. So, where exactly do we stand? How safe are we? What do we need to be doing to make sure that we stay safe? Well, we have with us in the studio a lecturer in genetics, Lagos State University, Dr. Olushola Shokefun. Good morning. And joining us via Skype will be Professor Titus Ibekwe, who is a professor of otorhinolaryngology. That word again. Good morning, Professor.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. And let me begin with Dr. Shokefun. So, does it look to you like we're heading for another lockdown?
Well, seemingly that's the way it looks. The world is certainly in a hurry, and the reasons are that we have been locked down for too long, and the reasons are that we have a dearth of knowledge, or we have the poor understanding of the virus and what it can do, or because, for instance, in the US elections are coming, so the economy will start to boom again as a campaign tool. So these are the possible explanations. Rather that you don't understand what the virus is capable of doing. I was in the eye of the storm. I saw it all in Italy before coming back to Nigeria. As such, I just see that we may be heading for another lockdown. Although at this time, it may be essential to also put palliatives in place for the average Nigerian, like it is done all over the world.
You said, I know we want to go to Professor Ibekwe, but you said you were in Italy.
Yes,
sir. How long ago was that?
I got back to Nigeria 20th of March. I came with the last flight, KLM last flight.
And you immediately went into isolation, I suppose.
Okay. So,
don't panic.
No, I'm not panicking.
He's fine.
I know some people who will be watching. He was in Italy? No. So we needed to clear that. But what did you see there?
Well, in the developed world, you only hear the siren when there's a medical emergency. And where I stay, the siren sounded very often that it became a staccato of sounds, and which tells you that something really serious is happening. We have not had that in Nigeria. So, to a large extent, a person who has not seen it may not appreciate the gravity of what the thing can actually do.
Indeed, there's these rumors that a lot of those who even have it are hiding. They don't even want to be identified as, hey, you have this ailment. And at the end of the day, that's how it's spreading. That's unconfirmed, though. But is it a question of understanding?
Yeah, awareness, enlightenment, understanding the gravity,
Yes.
The risk is not to you alone, persons around you who may also not be who may be more susceptible than you, especially when you are an asymptomatic carrier. That's really, really a problem. So, I mean,
Professor Ibekwe, the situation we have in the country right now, everybody gradually is opening up. I mean, Lagos was supposed to allow the worship centers to open beginning yesterday into tomorrow. But Lagos rescinded that decision and said it's still going to have to study some things. The airlines were supposed to kick off from, I think, tomorrow,
21st.
from 21st. But again, they're supposed to start thinking about opening from the 21st. But again, that is now being looked at again. So that date's again been moved. Based on what we're hearing from the WHO, and what we have on ground, what do you think is our stand as a nation?
Yeah, thank you very much. Sincerely speaking, we're really in a precarious situation as it is right now. That's the reality. Because you recall, we are trying to balance lives with livelihoods. And that's what led to opening up our space to ensure that the economy does not crash. Because this is a disease of both nature and nurture. So, apart from handling the disease and its spread, also balancing the economy is very important in order to be able to have a good containment of the illness. But it is obvious that the populace is not really abiding strictly by the rules and regulations guiding this simple dynamics, and that is really making it a very dangerous situation. You walk out of the street, you go to places, public institutions, you see that people have jettisoned these simple rules: face mask, physical distancing, etc. And if you juxtapose this to the information reaching us, especially from our own NCDC and the Presidential Task Force and the Minister of Health, that even those who appear to be susceptible in our country here are 50 and above, rather than over 60, 65, the truly aged that has been established. And of course, those who are having underlying illness. Again, you take into cognizance the case incidences, how it's been rising in the recent time. We're hitting 700 and something per day. That means very soon that we'll be able to get to 1,000 market identification a day. That's a red flag. It's not a good news at all, But the only thing that I can say that we're still hanging on, which is a string of good hope, is that it appears most of the cases that we have here happen to fall within the realm of the mild cases. But this should not be taken for granted because we're having fatality. Okay? It's very obvious. And that is why if there is need for us to go back to lockdown, that can happen, as my colleague over there said. We have a scientific team who are working with NCDC and co, monitoring the situation. And it's like trying to create a balance. And once one side outweighs the other, you have to bring up another measure. Because if everybody has strictly abide by these rules and regulations of simple respiratory hygiene, physical distancing, etc., I'm sure that we would have been able to curtail the case incidences. But again, if you look at the other side or the other divide, you realize that now we are testing reasonably well. Knowing full well that we have over 30 testing sites in the country now. So we are testing better. We are already into the community also testing. So we expect that we'll be able to identify more cases. But it's not a good news in any way that this case keep on rising on a daily basis. And you see people flagrantly flouting the rules and regulations. It's putting us in danger and in serious precarious situation.
Now, Professor, how can we get the people to take this matter seriously? The exemplary countries such as Taiwan, for example, or Iceland, they didn't go into lockdown at all. It was business as usual, but they listened to their health authorities and did exactly what they were told to do. Well, Professor, let's just take a short break before you respond to that. Welcome back. Yes, Professor, I was saying that there were places where there were no lockdowns at all. So how do we get Nigerians to actually buy into this and believe how dangerous it actually can be?
The first responsibility lies with each and every one of us. I think self-discipline is very important here because whereas you're advised but you refuse to take the advice, it will all just land into a waste of time. So each and every one of us must be awake to our responsibilities. Everybody belongs to a home, to a family. I think the enlightened ones and those who believe within the society should take it as personal responsibility to educate others within and around them. So this is very key, because it is in so doing that we'll be able to permeate even to the grassroots. Then the strategy on enlightenment program maybe has to be modified. I have consistently said that yes, radio, television, very key means of communication. But the reality is that we know that a lot of people do not even have access to radio and television. And that speaks volume. That we must also append other addendum that will help us to penetrate into the hinterlands, get down to the basics. We utilize the opinion leaders that individuals and group of individuals respect for what they stand. We use such people in propagating this message. And in fact, you talk of religious houses and the religious leaders, they have a key role to play, and traditional rulers, because their followers always listen to them. There's no religious preaching that must end without bringing in COVID, because that is what is ravaging the entire world right now. And thirdly, enforcement is very important. That enforcement has to be done with human face, with a lot of respect, because you see how security agents harass individuals and the populace, some of them anyway, it leaves a sour taste in the mouth. So they should see that we are trying to protect the nation. We're trying to protect our lives and livelihood, and do this gently in a manner that people will accept this, the information will permeate, and that is the only way we'll be able to do this. As you rightly said, countries like Taiwan, they did nothing extraordinary. In fact, they refused to go into lockdown, etc. And given the fact that they are living, they are neighbors to even China, where this problem started, it was just discipline. The entire populace were disciplined down to the teeth by ensuring that they kept to these simple rules and regulations of respiratory hygiene, physical distancing, etc. And that worked for them, because, of course, a disease that is transmitted from human to human and can be transmitted in this means that has been defined, the easiest way of breaking the chains remains in making sure that it doesn't move from person to person. And the simple way of doing it is this ABCD that has been rolled out, which is a sing-song in our system now by both NCDC and everybody. And it's not so difficult to obey these rules, as far as I'm concerned. Face mask, you can just do a homemade face mask with your clothes. Use this whenever you're outside. Be conscious of this physical distancing. Don't come too close. Do washing from time to time of hands and designated areas. Maintain hygiene. And it's going to help us. You don't have to spend much in order to be able to abide by this. Before you move to the second level of treatment and other things, and people searching for vaccination and all those. But this is the primary step that needs to be taken. And I think even our orientation agencies have to step up their games and have modification in their strategy in order to be able to permeate into the populace. Because as far as they are concerned, for a lot of people, it is not a reality that is being propagated as far as they're concerned. They feel that everything is normal. So we can't get tired of talking and get tired of transmitting this information until we get results.
Okay. Dr. Shokefun, you are a geneticist, right?
Okay.
What role is our genetic framework on the continent playing in all of this? Again, there are those who are concerned that we might not be getting the actual numbers. So call that a question of ignorance or gathering of test results. But the role of genetics, the genetics of the African, is it playing any role in numbers?
Well, it's been found out that the malaria belt, the equatorial malaria belt, has some element of resistance to the virus. And that's the reason why, to a large extent, we are not coming down as much as we have in other places. We have other things like the health of our lungs. We have less number of smokers than we have in Italy, for instance. And the virus deals with the ACTH channels. So when you smoke for a very long time, you are compromised. Not many of us are smokers. We don't have a population that is aging like they have in Italy. Italy has the second largest aging population in the world. So this is a critical consideration in susceptibility to the virus. These are some critical considerations that we will need to check using, finite research, genomics, and all that, to check the cascade of immunity, and the reasons why we are not actually coming down as we have in the developed world. This is critical. For Nigeria, I think we also need faster testing. We must have a way of testing it gives a thing that gives result in about 45 minutes, thereabout. The QQ-PCR has just been, developed. The CRIPSR system is also currently, being used in India. In 40 minutes, you have results and all that, so that the penetration of testing can be deeper in principle.
Yes, we have this bit of our genetics playing a role, good positive role, so to speak here. But the question of testing and the population, if government takes testing into the population, mass testing, do you think it will make any difference? Because right now, there are people reportedly coming down with ailments having similar symptoms to the COVID-19, but
not generalized testing, contact tracing, and then testing. You must have come in contact with somebody who is infected before you come down. So, I will not, for instance, go to my village in Agowe to go and test somebody who has not come in contact with an infected person. But contact, yes. Yes.
What's the guarantee that, how do I know Alero doesn't have the virus? So
You don't.
I don't.
You don't.
Exactly. I don't. And we're here. And for one reason or the other, I might even come close to have contact and then I move away.
Yeah.
I might just be here because I'm asymptomatic and then I probably have it and I'm passing it on.
The element of being asymptomatic is another thing entirely. That's another kettle of fish entirely. You are asymptomatic, it doesn't mean you cannot transmit it to somebody who is more susceptible to the thing. But I'm saying that contact tracing is very important, especially when the person comes down. For instance, if you have tested somebody and the person is positive, you want to trace all persons that he has come in contact with and then also test them to see that they are not infected. So contact tracing, after detecting that the person is positive, is the most important thing to do.
And Dr. Shukefo, in all of this, the doctors are on strike.
Well, that's the country we have found ourselves. I wouldn't imagine that in my wildest dreams. Why would we allow doctors to go on strike? When you have seen the devastation that the virus can cause in even developed countries that have the wherewithal to take care of the health.
Do you think the authorities are not taking this matter seriously?
I wouldn't conclusively say that because you do not also see the other side. But I think that there's just something not right about it. If I were Minister of Labor, I would have done everything humanly possible to make sure that that strike does not start or commence.
He'll probably tell you that he's done everything humanly possible. But Prof. Sibekwe, this matter of many people not taking this situation seriously, including even some people in government circles, what can be done to make that difference? I know you talked about orientation agencies and all that, but what else can be done so that everyone is more aware? This morning, someone was telling me of the situation he had in a bus just yesterday evening. What do we do?
You see, information is power, and it still boils down to passing on the right information to the right people in the right manner and at the right time. So when all these things fit in, you will realize that majority will fall in line. Basically, one of the problems here is a lot of misconception that is still living within and around our society here in the country. Unfortunately, a lot of people have associated with some stigmatization is ongoing right now, whereby you see people going into hiding, even those who have symptoms that highly suggest that they may be having this disease, including educated people, funny enough. people who should know better and be able to guide others. You see them living in denial. And that is why a lot of underground work needs to be done to demystify this disease. We should keep on, passing on this message that this is not a death sentence. It's not that you're reckless that made you to get this illness. It's not as if you have wronged the gods to be among those who test positive for this illness. So once we're able to demystify this, and individuals can voluntarily, show up when they have symptoms and related symptoms, that's going to go a long way in helping. And again, the government has a very big role to play, as I said, and indeed each and every one of us. Now, for instance, you talk of palliative. We know that some time ago we're distributing food and all those, very fine, which is a way of supporting people. As I said, is a disease of both nature and nurture. So that nurture aspect is very important. But there is an underlying problem also. You realize that those who have chronic illnesses are those who are even more susceptible to this. When you talk of hypertensive diseases, you talk of diabetes, you talk of asthma and related illnesses, which on every normal day, a lot of Nigerians, ranging into millions, suffer from this. So we must do everything to support such people. So when you're talking of palliative, you should not just stop at food. That was why I voluntarily went to the house when I learned last time that there was a debate, on issue of essential drugs. I went there to make a personal presentation, unsolicited, because I felt it's very important. Because whereas you make these essential drugs available and affordable to help individuals in stabilizing their system and treating these illnesses, which predisposes to contracting this disease, then you must have contributed a lot into curtailing the illness. But beyond this, you should also not allow our system to go into limbo, into confusion of any sort, especially the health sector, which is like the tripod upon which every forward-moving nation sits on. There's no reason whatsoever why doctors should be allowed, and indeed health workers, to go on strike for any reason whatsoever. It takes two to tango. It is all about negotiation. Even after World War, you need Georgia to come to a round table. And you look at even what the resident doctors were asking for on behalf of all the health professionals in the country. These are mainly what government has voluntarily come out to promise the entire nation some months ago, taking a clue from what is happening in every part of the country. You must protect these health workers. You have to give them the necessary insurance. You have to provide the consumables that they need to protect themselves and also protect the patients and people around them. We're talking of escalation of infections. Hospital-based infections could be highly contributory to this, because when the doctors, the nurses, the pharmacists, they don't protect themselves well, they can even be medium for transmitting this to patients who are coming to the hospital to, procure other forms of treatment. So it really needs a holistic look into solving this problem. And we must look at every angle. You talk of the various groups, like the National Road Transport Workers Union. They have a very big role to play. They have to educate their members towards the sensibility in what we are talking about, ensuring that you don't jam-pack people in your vehicle. They carry two in front for the small vehicles and two behind and one in front. There's reason for this. Even if there has to be a marginal increase in the fare to ensure that this happens. And of course, government may still do more in the area of petrol. We know that the price has been coming down, to give succor to these transport workers, so that we'll not end up transmitting this in the bid of commuting and transporting our populace. So we have to look in various areas. The churches, the mosque, they have big role to play, and indeed each and every one of us.
Okay, thank you, Professor. And then let me bring it back to you, Dr. Shokefun. You doctors often tell us that this virus has no legs. It is human beings who carry it around. And there are lockdowns in states. There's not supposed to be, well, most states have locked down their states, no interstate travel.
Principles.
in principle. But Nigerians are still traveling. So let's look at the role of law enforcement in all of this. I heard the story of how a Nigerian traveling from Abuja actually was able to hire a Mopol officer for 40,000 to escort him all the way from Abuja to Lagos. And he arrived safely in Lagos from Abuja by road in the season of interstate lockdown. So people are still moving very freely from state to state and carrying this virus with them. What is wrong with Nigerians, please? Why are we not listening and doing what we're supposed to do so that we don't endanger our lives?
Well, we seem to push everything to the feet of the government at all times, which is wrong. You hear people say, yes, yes.
Do what we're supposed to do.
I'm saying the same thing. At most times, you just
You
hear
are saying government. I'm saying the people.
I'm getting there.
Okay.
Yeah. At most times, we tend to blame the government at all times, whereas we also have our own fair share of the blame. If they say there shouldn't be any movement, there's no reason why anybody should be going around, especially when it's not about getting the person to the hospital or getting some pregnant women to where she's going to give birth and all that. So lockdown should be total lockdown, unless there is an emergent reason to begin to move around. But there are two sides to every coin. The man who allows himself to be used as some escort from Abuja should also be disciplined to forestall any other person doing that. The problem we have in the country is that people do things and they get away with it. And once one person can get away with it, all other persons will continue to attempt it. In Italy, they said total lockdown. You are only allowed out if you had very, very emergent reason to go out, although there were palliatives. So you really had no reason to want to go out. So, these are the two sides that the government must also balance. You can't keep people indoors when they are hungry. It's difficult, especially those who are dependent on daily income.
So what do we do now as we wind down? What do we do? So far, NCDC has tested 108,548 tests have been conducted.
Out of 200 million, that's shallow.
Okay, agreed. Agreed. So while we're saying NCDC, do more tests, what should we be doing?
In principle, people should be sensitized. People should be educated. People should be enlightened. They should be told that the thing is real and they must be made to see it. I'll give you an example. While I lived in Hong Kong, there's a particular mosquito that transmits the chikungunya virus. Once I see it in my room, I must kill it before I go to bed because I can see it. With the virus, it's a bit different because people can't see it. But they must be told that to transmit it, you all need human contact. And dispersion is such that you don't see. When I sneeze, you don't know what is in the aerosol that comes out of me. So, in principles, education is very, very important.
Okay. Yeah. Prof, in closing, what should we do?
Thank you very much. I can say that any country that wants to move forward sits on a she. The S there stands for security, H is health, and E is education. So these are three areas that we must harness. And the soul of this she is the health, which is in the middle, seated in the middle. So on the part of government and each and every one of us and every public spirited individual, we must invest massively into our health space. This is very important and very key. Both preventative and treatment-wise, we must invest massively into the health. Security, the point I raised earlier, is it not about our security agents? Enforcement of rules and regulations is about security and also guiding and protecting each and every one of us. We have to look inwards into this area and bring sanitization, serious one, into the system, discipline into the system to ensure that our security works very well. And education, we can never get tired of this, inclusive massive enlightenment program that will permeate into the fabrics of our hinterlands and indeed get to each and every one of us, Nigerians. in language that we understand best.
Thank
Don't we
you, Professor
utilize
Titus Ibekwe, Professor of Otorhinolaryngology. He joined us from our studio in Abuja. And we had Dr. Lushola Shokefun, lecturer of genetics, Lagos State University, who was with us in our studio in Lagos. Thank you both gentlemen very much for coming to share your thoughts with us this morning. Sorry, we ran out of time, Professor. That's how it is on live television. Sunrise will be right back with another interesting conversation in just a moment. Do stay with us.
Thank you, and thank you for staying with us. The impact of the COVID-19 has shaken people, communities, businesses, and even countries to their core. So everyone is innovating. Here in Nigeria, we've seen several large corporate organizations rise to support efforts by government, health organizations to ease the impact of the pandemic on Nigeria. But there are still some of the ones that are coming up again to do something in the hope to encourage everyone to get on board and stop the spread. How's that working out? So Union Bank has a representative here, Ngozi Akinyele. She's the head of strategic brand management at Union Bank. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me this morning. Good morning.
So Ngozi, tell us about this, what do you call it, RISE challenge?
The RISE challenge.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were talking about the fact that the pandemic has affected everyone, and it's true. It is really it's an incident that really calls for a concerted effort across board. So whether you're private sector or you're public sector, and so large corporates like Union Bank have stepped up, in the area of food security to support the government, and even in the areas of testing. So we as a bank, for example, have made donations to about $250 million to the private sector coalition against COVID-19. We also made a 50 million naira donation to 54Gene to support testing, and we've also supported the Lagos State government in the area of food security as well. Some of these things, made the news. We got positive feedback as an industry, but we also started thinking about how we also stay true to our message. So if you follow our message, we talk about Uncle Thomas, don't be an Uncle Thomas, and we're constantly preaching the message of hope and optimism. And so we said, how do we then act on that hope? And we started thinking about the fact that there were people who were, not as financially buoyant as us, to be making large donations, but were in their own ways, in their small communities, doing, new and interesting things, finding their passions, and just helping people grow and thrive, in these times. And so we said, what, let's shine the spotlight on them. That was the thinking that went into the RISE challenge.
Okay, so what kind of response have you had so far?
I think
And for how long has it run so far? Because she said in the announcement, she said 4 weeks.
Yes, so we started on the 1st of June. We kicked it off on the 1st of June, and we've had over 1,000 entries. We've had, that's like twice of what we expected. I think people have personally, I've just been inspired by the amount of responses. We said, what, if you're doing a new and interesting thing, like if you've started a new business, or you have found a way to pivot your existing business, into fighting the pandemic itself, or just helping others rise, or you're just, sharing, the joy and laughter, making other people, rise in these times. Tell us about your stories. And we've had responses around, agriculture, people starting backyard farms, schools, low-income schools, now using the plots of land in their schools to farm and then pay their teachers. We've had people, even, some entries were around building ventilators in Nigeria here. So it's just been very, very inspiring watching the evolution of the idea and just seeing how people are finding ways to rise. I think it's the Nigerian spirit. It's a platform really to expose the Nigerian spirit, because the Nigerian spirit is one that would just never
say
give up,
die.
and I think that's what is coming through, and it's just been inspiring watching it from across the country. So we've had entries from Lagos, outside Lagos, and it's been beautiful watching it grow.
But now that you say 1,000 entries,
Yes.
So far.
is it done?
No. So we have
end of the month.
Yes, it's supposed to end at the end of June, and then because of the kinds of entries we're seeing, we're thinking about a surprise, at the end. I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag just yet. But yes, we intended it to run throughout the month of June, but we're going to have something special for the really interesting ideas that we got that didn't win, but would have something for them at the end of
How many winners are you thinking of selecting?
So we have, we decided to celebrate 10 top entries every single week. So we've done 20 in week 1.
10 top entries every week.
Every week.
So far,
every week.
1,000.
Yes. So we've had to select 10 in week 1, 10 in week 2, and we're also going to be selecting 10 today. So we announce every Saturday, and next Saturday as well would announce 10 more.
What's the criteria?
So like I said, we were looking for innovative ideas. So if you've been innovative, we're also looking for resourcefulness. So if you didn't have a grant or you didn't have, some support, but you were able to crowdfund, find ways to still, put your ideas together and help other people. We've also asked people to tell a story, so you also have to be able to share with us in an impactful way. And then because it's a financial donation, I haven't even mentioned this, is this 250,000 naira that we're giving. We also want to be able to say our 250,000 naira helped you advance your idea. So the ability of our funds to be able to help you do more in that regard, or just help you continue doing the good work that you're doing. So these are some of the things we consider.
So you select 10 a week and you give each of those 10 250,000 naira?
Yes.
Okay. What kind of feedback have you got from those you have selected so far? Because you say you have done 2 weeks already.
Yes.
Where did that money go for some of them?
So,
any feedback on that?
Yes. So, for example, AGL Artistry is he's a recycler. His name is Bamigboshe Adams. He's a recycler. He has these very beautiful drums that he makes out of, he has, metal scraps, and he's made them into hand washing machines. I think like top brands have even taken up. So he's now using the funds to be able to expand that, to do more, and then he's now found a way to make it commercial as well. So he's getting more and more raw materials.
What's his name again?
Bamigboshe Adams, and the name of his company is AGL Artistry. And I think I've actually seen the drums at ShopRite. So a couple of big brands are now taking it up. So I think that's the joy for us as well, where we see a little contribution, and people are just being resourceful with the small amount, quote and unquote, and they're able to put materials together and then have a commercial spin to it as well, and then expand it as an idea. So people who are watching today might want to be part of this. Yes.
How can they do that?
So, I mean, it's simple. Share, make a 60-second video. Tell us the new and interesting things you're doing, how you've inspired people, how you've, found the upside to the pandemic, what you're doing. Tell us how that's impacting people around you. Make it in a video, and then post it on your page on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and then tag us using the hashtag Union Rise Challenge. We'll pick it up, and hopefully you're one of our top 10 winners for the final week.
What happens on week 4?
So on week 4, I mean, we would have the last group of our 10 winners.
Yes.
And like I said, what we're also looking through is, okay, for certain ideas, now I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, but then for certain entries which we felt were powerful, but couldn't just make it. Maybe, for example, in a week, in the week you entered, it was a really strong entry, but then there were stronger entries. Mm-hmm. We're now saying, let's even just try and, have some honorable mentions of some of those ideas and share them. And I think some people are just pleased with the fact that we can even provide a larger platform for their ideas to shine. So they may not even win the money, but then just the fact that somebody recognizes what I am doing, in my backyard in Kwara or in Enugu, is for them, fulfilling in itself.
And you said
Is there any big event for all the 40 winners at the end of the event?
No,
At
no,
the
no,
end
no,
of the
no,
event?
no, 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 not
Social
that was
distance.
planned. No, this is not the
Corona
time
has
for-
made sure that nothing
No,
like that would happen.
No.
Okay,
but,
so-
but we're finding ways to also digitally amplify the works that they're doing, which is why, we've had some interviews, with some of the winners like Bambushi, and there's a gentleman, Fankat Daburak, who started a telemedicine platform, in Plateau State. So he's helping, professionals who would not have been working around this time, and even pharmacies, to sell their drugs and to still treat patients. So we're having, pockets of interviews, webinars and sessions with these people to just let people see the amazing things they are doing. And they did these things without even knowing that, a Union Bank will pick up what they're
Would
doing.
recognize
So
them.
it's just the authenticity and the innovation that they put into their work, and the resilience, definitely knowing that some other people are just, sitting down and saying nothing can go on at this time.
Okay, so you say you've had entries so far from across the country.
Yes, we
North,
have.
south, east, and west.
Yes, everywhere. Everywhere. We've had entries from, I remember the school I'm talking about is, I think it's called Kazakh Chat School in Abuja. They started making animated content. So these were teachers who were just, English, mathematics teachers in a low-income primary school. They found a way to start animating their content. They started making these videos, and then after school, they would use their plot of land, to start farming. I think it was groundnuts. They started making groundnut oil, and then were able to pay themselves, part school. So it's just, I'm getting goosebumps, I'm sorry. But it's just so powerful what can happen when you choose to rise, when you choose to say, despite everything that is going on, I'm just going to pick up, myself and find a way to help myself and also the people
Help
around us. I
others.
think it really speaks to who the Nigerian, really is.
And like you said, when you choose to rise, so 40 top ideas are going to be celebrated. Is it just going to be a one-off? You've ended it after now, or it's like something that's going to continue beyond?
No. It's not going to continue beyond this. Like we said, we've made these, massive donations and all to all of these bodies, and we're supporting food security, we're supporting our customers in all of these areas. And we specifically wanted to do the Rise Challenge to shine the spotlight on these everyday heroes, It's not going to be forever. But the point is, these people did these things even without the challenge. So we're hoping to be able to spread the spirit, right? So even without the challenge going on, we're hoping that in these 4 weeks, we're highlighting these beautiful ideas, and it then helps, Ngozi in Enugu, and Amina in Abuja to say, what, even without a challenge, let me, do what I can do. If I have this plot of land, or if I have these items, I can make something out of it
So
for myself.
Anybody can be a part of this?
Anybody can be a part of it. So
Even your staff can be part of it?
No. But we've opened it up to individuals, to charities, and even to groups and small businesses that are doing these things. Even for small businesses who are just finding ways to still pay their salaries, because I know that that's an area of struggle. In the bank, for example, we take it as a privilege to understand that, despite all that's going on, you still get paid. But we understand that we are a small fraction, of people who are still getting full salaries.
Yeah.
So understanding that even just the ingenuity and the innovation involved in being able to pay your salaries despite these times is something we're also celebrating in small businesses.
So tell us how the process of entering into this, because you still have a few more days, right?
Yes, we still have a few more days. So quickly get a device, make a short video, a 60-second video, or even write a good and detailed post. It doesn't have to be a video. You can do a write-up telling us, the things you have done to rise, the ideas you put together, how you executed them with the funds you executed, and then very importantly, how many people or communities you've been able to impact by your idea. Share that with us on your page. Post it on your page on Twitter, on Facebook, and on Instagram, and then tag us using the hashtag Union Rise Challenge.
So you don't need to fill any form. Do they need to go to your website, because on the screen there?
Yeah, well, the website is really a landing page to get more information about it. You don't post your entries on the website. It's really just to get more information, about it. And then you can also I think all the other thing to mention as well is you should follow us as well to see when your entries get posted, and hopefully, of course, if you win. So if you follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, and on Twitter at @UnionBank_NG or at UnionBankNG, you'd see more about the challenge.
Do I need to have an account with Union Bank?
Yes, you have to, but you don't have to already have an account with Union Bank. You can open a new account. So it's open to new and existing customers. It's open to new and existing customers of the bank.
You.
So to be able to enter, I must open an account first.
You need to be able to be a customer at the time of entry.
Because I suppose the prize money you're giving them will be
Would
paid into a Union Bank account.
Exactly. You're thinking like a banker. Yes.
I've associated with you guys long enough.
Thank you. Thank you.
Again, so to clarify, I have an idea.
Yes.
Before I post it, I have to open the account, or post it and then open the account when I know I'm going to win.
If you have an idea, post it. You can open an account online. You don't even have to come into a branch. You can open a Union Bank account online. So just go to our site, click on open an account, and you can open an account directly. If hopefully you win, we will contact you and would ask for your account number. At that point, you need to have opened the account and at least made about 2 transactions, with us. And then. So
you're not going to expect me to present my utility bill and all that to open an account?
No, that's the beauty of the different tiers of accounts. So if you want to open a higher tier account, of course, we would need your utility bill.
All right.
But for lower tiers of accounts, you don't need that anymore.
Okay. As a wind down now, so what would you say to those who are out there?
Well, I think the spirit of the campaign is really about rising. I would say if you're out there, make an entry. If you're doing something powerful, if you're doing something interesting, please go ahead. Don't keep it to yourself. Share that inspiration with everyone. But really just imbibe that spirit of hope and optimism. Despite we've had, pretty hectic weeks and dark days, but just understand that the message of hope and optimism is one you really can hold on to, and that other people around you would also benefit from. So be that beacon of hope that people around you can see, because there's always someone who's worse than you are.
Your enthusiasm is infectious.
No.
And I hope that it has also been so infectious, it's infected some people who are watching this segment of this program today, and that they will rise and actually submit entries for this challenge.
I hope so. The Union Rise Challenge. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We've been speaking with Ngozi Akinyele, Head of Strategic Brand Management at Union Bank, talking to us about the Union Rise Challenge. So go get challenged and save somebody's life. Never can tell. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sunrise will be back in a moment. Please stay with us.
Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us. One of the major challenges in Nigeria, as you all know, is the issue of electricity. And we have been talking about power supply forever. And when privatization was concluded in 2013, some of us thought, finally, we're going to get power. But it's 7 years on, and we still seem to be on the same spot. Or are we? Last week, the House of Representatives inaugurated an ad hoc committee on power sector reforms. What is that going to achieve? We're going to be looking at that and other things, other issues, and maybe also discussing ideas regarding how we can begin to solve our power issues. And we have 2 gentlemen with us in the studio to help us out with this. It's my pleasure to welcome the spokesperson of the electricity distribution companies, Mr. Sunday Oduton.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Nigerians. It's a pleasure to be here again.
And we have the President, Consumer Rights Advancement Organization, Chief Adeolu Ogunbanjo.
Thank you very much.
Good morning.
Good to be here. Good morning, Nigerians.
Yes, sir. Let us talk to the spokesperson first. In my introduction, I said privatization came along in 2013, and we all thought, good, We're now on the home stretch to getting, well, if not 24 hours supply of power, maybe we'll just make do with 17, 18. And even that we're not getting, sir. What seems to be this intractable problem with electricity in Nigeria?
Thank you very much. Let me start by apologizing to Nigerians for all these problems.
He
So
has
when you
fallen
don't have
our
light-
hands.
Yes, I will always apologize. I'm an Egba man. They teach us to apologize anytime to our wives, to our customers, to everybody. It's good. Humility is number one. That is best for human beings. However, we can only solve any problem if we know the cause of that problem. If your tap is leaking in your house, water is leaking from the tap or from the pipe, you have to trace which of the pipes where, instead of looking at your rug or your carpet that is it's soaking with water, it's soaked with water. So what I'm saying is that the problem of electricity has a lot to do with, number one, the issue of sufficiency, availability, and you have to link availability with population to know whether or not what you have available is enough for the population, for the populace. In the case of Nigeria, we are about 103 million people in the country. Sorry, 100 and over 100 million Nigerians, current population. Now, even that, we are not even sure how many of us are in the country. But let's say we are 100 million. Now, what do we have?
More like 200.
Sorry, 203 I was going to say. So let's say we are 200. Sorry, 200 million Nigerians. Now, what do we have in terms of availability of electricity? We are roving between an average of 3,500 to 4,000 megawatts of electricity. More of 3,500 megawatts. That number is completely insufficient for 200 million people. Now let's take the 200 million people again and look at how many people are connected to the grid. There are between 20 to 32 million households that are currently connected to the national grid.
Is that all?
So, yes, when you look at so many villages, there's no light. But even for those number of customers or people or premises that are connected, you will see that the problem that we have is that, number one, what we have is not enough. Number two, the major problem, which is affecting the whole sector, is liquidity crisis, naira and kobo. And people also need to understand that there's a value chain in this sector, starting with the generation company, the producers, going to the transmission companies, the transporters, going to the distribution company that I represent, the distributors. Distributors distribute products that are brought to that distributor for distribution. Then the gas suppliers. We talk about gas suppliers because out of about 28 power plants that are working in Nigeria currently, 25 of them depends on gas. Only 3 are hydro, Kanji, Shioro, and Jeba in Niger State. All others use gas. Unfortunately, we have not been able to even tap into solar and all of those things. But where I'm going is this. In our book as distribution company, when we took over, what we met in the book in terms of number of customers of NEPA and PHCN, and what we have been able to drag into the basket for now is about 10.4 million customers. Those are the ones that we know. But we know for a fact that there are more than 20 million customers. So there are at least, okay, let me break it down. Out of those 10.4 million customers, more than 20% of them are inactive. When I say inactive, no sign that they pay anything. So we have less than 8 million customers paying for electricity in the country. Out of those 8 million customers, only 4 million of them are metered. Out of the 4 million that are metered, 50% of them, their meters are obsolete, so which means you lose another 2 million. But the unmetered customer is my concentration now. If people are not metered, they cannot measure what they use. There will be a lot of arguments and problems. Now, those 4 million or minimum of 4 million unmetered customers, those people are rightly very angry and unhappy. And they, too, in some cases, are even paying for part of those unknown 12 million that have disappeared within the network all over the country. So what we have is a major crisis that we now need to look at what the way forward should be. For instance, when I say in Nigeria, 203 million people have less than 8 million active customers. If you look at Ghana, for instance, as an example, 30 million people, but they have 4.8 million active customers. 4.8 million for 30 million. In Nigeria, less than 8 million for 200 million people. So you can see that our problem is massive.
That you're implying that over 190 million people are not paying for whatever light they're able to see?
No, what I'm saying in essence is that when you talk about 200 million Nigerians, not all the 200 million people have access to electricity. When you now take those who have access to electricity, I'm saying that more than 12 million of them
Are not even
are
paying.
not even known. They are not paying. They are not known. They're either stealing, tapping, and how do you get them known, or how do you bring them over? A lot of things has to be done.
Okay, let us bring in the consumer person. He has said a lot because he went on and on. Now, what are your thoughts about what he has said?
Thank you very
Is that
much.
of any concern to you?
As long as,
You have your power.
precisely, Disco, the moment I have power, that is what the consumer wants. He wants power. However, I'm sure you do have, how many households do you have that is on your record that are actually paying? You said some of them do not pay. Now, I also know that the transformers, even if you don't have prepaid meters, I know that the transformers are also metered. Now, the issue of crazy billing, of course, I mean, you all know this. What about just looking at those meter transformers and just looking at the reading and then sharing it with the people around, rather than just give anything that comes to the energy sales reps' heads? I mean, it's just not right. Again, people want to pay for meter. You are bringing all sorts of conditions. Go and bring a survey. Go and bring C of O, because I want to, have meter installed in my place. Beyond that is the fact that they will now say I have to go to a particular person who I have to wait, even after paying, who I have to wait for, for him to come before I can be given a meter. Are you not the one, in charge? So why are you now, making me go through this stress? The meter
Through
provider.
through the vendor.
Precisely.
Okay.
Mr. Dutton,
And-
in other words, all he's saying is the consumers are not happy with the discos.
Yes.
They want metered. You said you're not metered, that's why you're not getting power. If you're metered, you'll get power. Now they want meter, but they're not getting the meter.
And those who have meter are not getting the power.
And besides, somebody, for instance, paid 40,000 naira because the person couldn't queue, in the bank and all that, all these social distancing and things. So he went to pay through
The agent.
through POS into Ikeja Electric's account. Unfortunately, they said they cannot capture it. Why? Is it not the same? And they say it's in their account. And yet she has paid 40,000 naira.
Okay, any money paid electronically into the account of any disco shall be and definitely will be traced and captured at some point. So, but let me talk about meters. This is very important. Number one, the former Minister for Power, one day on his own, unilaterally declared to Nigerians, and the records are there, that metering is not the primary business of the discos. Following that declaration, the federal government, through the Federal Ministry of Power and the regulator, our regulator, took metering away from us. They handed over metering to people appointed by them. They are called meter asset providers. These are private investors, local meter manufacturers, some businessmen who can import meters into the country. Our role is for them, they will send them to us. They appointed them. The regulator will send the list to each of the discos that Neuta is your new map provider. Work with him, work under him. What is our role? Our role is to open up our own ICT background, our computer system, which is our billing platform, to those businessmen, so that when they bring their meter, the meter can speak to the platform, right? We support it. We are happy with that. We are not saying don't take it from us, but we are saying make sure it is well done. But we only found out later that these same people that they appointed are having the same problem that we had when we were handling it. What is the problem? The same government that says, Disco don't do meter anymore. We are appointing these people. The same people that you have appointed, they are trying to bring in meters.
That government appointed?
Yes, appointed by NAC, by the regulator, which is an agency of the government, under the purview of the federal government and Federal Ministry for Power. The same people, you have now gone ahead. Federal government has imposed a 35% import duty on meters. So they cannot even bring in the meters. For the local meter manufacturers, there are a few of them, they need to buy some components. They must import certain components from abroad. That's because until Ajaokuta becomes a reality, Nigeria will continue to import certain things. For those importations, like on a three-phase meter, for instance, they need to put certain chips, maybe about 7 or 9 of them, that they have to import. They pay 15% on each of those 9. When you even aggregate it, it's even cheaper to import than to manufacture locally. So that means we are not even growing local manufacturers. These are not discos, it's not our business. But what we are saying is that if different people are the one in charge of meters, that are bringing meters, that are installing meters in our network, and you do not encourage them to bring it in, why blaming us for lack of meters, for shortage of meters? And our own study has revealed that wherever we meter people, Nigerians prefer prepaid meters. They talk about prepaid meter in Nigeria a lot, even though meters can either be postpaid or prepaid. But let's talk about prepaid. That's what the Nigerians want, largely. When the meters are not available, federal government should make importation of meters duty-free. Not even about waiver, duty-free. That's number one. Number two, we should encourage those local meter manufacturers so that we have massive meters. For there to be some sanity in this sector, every Nigerian house must be metered. And Nigerians need to know. I'm surprised even educated people still think that we are the useless one, because we are the scapegoat anyway, that these codes are not metered. They don't want to meter us. If I meter you, I have revenue assurance from your premises, because I'll be sure that you'll be paying. When you talk about energy management, those who don't have meters don't manage their energy. Those who are on estimated billing, you see some shops, you see light on in the afternoon. If they don't have meters, those who have meters, they manage their consumption a lot. So it is in our interest for people to be metered. And the current problem, I just read yesterday that I think the Minister of State for Power is also saying that the federal government is now trying to review the issue of duty, import duty on meter or meter components. I hope that can be done and done soon so that people can be metered. When people are metered, then we were talking about the issue of availability of electricity, because that's another matter. You can have meter in your house. If there's no light, your meter is as useless as if you have no meter. So we must talk about both. And the only way this thing can work is for everybody to know that there's a cost to the production of electricity. This is not about discos. This is about everybody. Producers, transporters, and distributors.
Chief.
If people don't pay the actual cost of electricity, we will come here in 5 years' time and be talking about
we'll talk about
I
this
see-
actual cost. We'll come back to it. Let's see.
I see you looking very pensive there.
Yes. We have meter manufacturers
Yes.
in Nigeria. About 5, 6, 7 of them. I don't want to mention names here. And they've always assured us that they have meters, in fact, in their warehouse as we speak. So why are you saying, sorry, they have to wait? The meter set provider, can they go to purchase this thing at, those meter manufacturers? Many of them. One is in Lagos, one is on the expressway, all that. So what is delaying you telling the meter set providers to go and purchase meters with this meter manufacturer? And up till 2 weeks ago, 2 of them said they have as much as several thousands waiting to be cleared, to be bought 2 weeks ago.
So are you saying that you've been having conversations with them?
Yes. And they have meters.
But they will say it's not their job.
Have you had conversations with the federal government? Because he just said there now that, hold on. He just said there now that that task of providing meter for the end user has been taken away from the discos. So how much conversations has the organization had with the government as regards metering people so that
maybe you should be talking to NEC.
Perhaps we now have to redirect from the disco to NEC now, because I mean, the meter manufacturers are saying, we do have meters. It's staring at them on the face in their stores. And then the map people are not buying from them.
Well, it may interest you to know that the meter manufacturers are also part of the map people. Correct. I can confirm that for a fact. There's no meter manufacturer in Nigeria who is not map licensed, unless that manufacturer is not really a manufacturer. But the 2 major ones are very, very, they have their presence in all the discos in the country.
I know them, yes.
But when you speak to them, they will tell you about their constraint, the cost. I just mentioned the components. If they have been asked to pay 15% on each of the 7 to 9 components for a single box of meter, just 1 meter, you see that the landing cost plus the amount fixed cap by NEC for meters, it's fixed, the price is fixed. The landing cost has to be compared with the price. If the thing doesn't pay them, they won't like to continue to import or bring in meters or
Mr.
those
Dunton,
components.
You represent the discos.
Yes.
The discos can only distribute what they are given.
Yes.
By the generating companies.
That's correct. Through the transmission company. Through the transmission company.
God.
The generation company can generate. If the transmission, which is owned 100% by the federal government, if they cannot wield the power, it won't get anywhere.
It won't get to you.
It won't get to us.
Be able to distribute to us.
Yes, please. Yes.
It's a bit long-winded, isn't it? But my issue is, why are we still talking about 3,000 megawatts of power for a country of 200 million people?
Okay.
That's the same spot we were when privatization was effected 7 years ago. We haven't moved forward an inch.
We're talking about
but
that.
Maybe the corollary to that is perhaps maybe that because we are generating 3,000 or 4,000 or 5,000, maybe that's why the kilowatt per minute, or how do you charge, is so high, and then it will lead to crazy billing of
Okay, we are where we are because any country that failed to plan has effectively planned to fail. The issue of electricity doesn't happen like that. It's not like an overnight thing. You cannot correct the adversity of 65 years in 6 years. What happened is that we should have grown this industry steadily over time. I'll give you an example. In 1982, the government of President Shagari, the late President Shagari, started the hydro project in Mambila.
Hold your thoughts there. We'll take it up from Mambila hydropower project when we return from this short break. Do stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. We're still talking how to solve this power problem in homes. So, Duton, you were talking about Mambila power project in the 80s. Right now, what the viewers, what Nigerians want to see is power in their homes. As far as they are concerned,
Shikena?
The power sector was privatized, and they were told that now the discos have come and you will have power 24/7 possibly, or at least 17 hours, you said.
17, 18.
But that's nowhere.
The
You're still
government-
talking about hydro, Mambila power project.
I'm saying that
We have
a
power 1
project-
hour in 3 days.
I'm saying that the federal government of Nigeria started a Mambila hydropower project in 1982. Up to this morning, after spending millions and millions of dollars, they have not laid the foundation. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So if you have a project that was only resuscitated by the current government a few years ago, and government upon government have been projecting money for power and nothing is done, and I've mentioned it before that between 1989 and 1999, when Nigeria had 4 leaders, starting with General Babangida, Chief Ernest Shonekan, General Sani Abacha, and General Abdulsalam Abubakar, the 4 of them, in that 10-year period, budgeted money for power every year in the Nigerian budget, which is a public document. They never constructed a single power plant in 10 years. Are you saying that Nigerian population did not grow between 1989 and 1999? Of course, Nigerian population grew, so we need to grow power with population. So those neglect, those failure, and in the whole of the country today, you go to Niger State, you see 3 power plants. They are all hydro, water, right? Go up north, not a single power plant. So the national grid, so you produce power in Egbe, here in Ikorodu, for example. That is what you send to Maiduguri, to Benin Kebbi, to Port Harcourt, to Abeokuta, Ilorin, and all that. So the problem we have is that we really need to massively increase generation, but you cannot just be increasing generation if you do not expand transmission and distribution. The language used is alignment.
Why are we still doing centralized distribution?
That's a question for the federal government of Nigeria.
Okay, Mr. Oduto, are
They-
there
they
any
can
plans
explain that
in the
better.
offing right now?
I believe there are plans, yes. Recently, the federal government even tried to bring in an equipment manufacturer called Siemens. Siemens cannot run discos or transmission, but they do manufacture good equipment. But as they do all of that, if you read the agreement or the MOU signed, it did not include meters and some other things. But even those things that they want to do, as long as those things are done, there are going to be a massive improvement.
Mr. Dunton, please slow down.
Yes.
Slow down. We need to concentrate on the things that affect the people out there directly. I asked you a question. Are there any plans in the offing? You said yes. Fine. Do you have timelines as to when these plants are going to be ready so that we will know when to expect better power supply?
Well, the question you are asking a distributor, I think that question, the person who can do it, if you are asking in a classroom whether anybody can guarantee that the student will not make noise, the best person to answer that would be the class monitor.
Give us
That's
an
the
idea.
federal government.
Okay, look, how many power plants are there?
28 power plants. 28
In the
power
offing?
plants. In the offing.
No, the new ones that are coming on.
Well, I know that Mambila is there, but I don't know how many years that would take to complete. But Ethiopia managed to complete such within 3 years, can be completed within 5 years. That's one.
Okay.
I also know that there are stranded power. There are some power plants that are not performing optimally. If you go to Olorunshogo, Papalanto in Ogun State, there's a power plant there. The turbine they have never been able to produce to maximum because of lack of gas. Even Egbe power plant is the biggest in West Africa. They have never, ever used all their, I think, 6 turbines, never. So what we need to do is to get them to do that, while simultaneously we align the value chain to ensure that if you're able to generate 10,000 megawatts, you must be able to transmit 10,000 megawatts. You must be able to distribute 10,000 megawatts. That's what we in ANET have been saying all along,
So
but nobody appears to be listening.
Discos now.
Yes.
What's the capacity of the discos? Let's just say, because when I asked
Fine.
you, I said
The
that's for the
capacity
federal
of the
government to answer.
disco,
So discos, what's the capacity?
The capacity of the disco, according to the federal government, which is the system operator, since 2015, when they carried out a stress test, the capacity of the disco is 6,288 megawatts. But recently, the Siemens report made it very clear in that report, in part 2 of that report, that discos are capable of distributing 11,000 megawatts of electricity.
So the discos now
Yes,
can
are ready.
distribute 11,000 megawatts of electricity.
Potentially, and I'm using potential because that's their own. They did.
No, because
they went trans.
See, Mr.
But
Duto,
I know of
And you have
6288.
equipments that
Mr.
could.
Mr. Duto, hold on. When I said why is there no improved power, he said that's for the federal government to answer. Federal government is looking at generation and transmission, right?
No,
In fact,
federal government is
transmission.
looking at generation, transmission, and distribution. And when you talk about federal government, always remember, and this Nigerians need to know, the discos that I represent that you are talking about, the discos are owned 40% by the federal government. We run the discos together. The federal government has their own director on the board. Every decision that every disco take in this country has the federal government input in it, because the person doesn't sleep during board meeting. We are all there together. So when you are talking about the private investors who pay $1.4 billion to acquire these assets, you should also remember that they acquired 60%. The federal government owned 40%. We are more than happy. It is an interest to work together because I'm a customer of a disco too. If I have no light, if you have no light and you're my neighbor, I won't have light. So both of us, we are in it together. What I'm saying is that for the system to work, there's a need for there to be a technical and commercial alignment of the value chain. If you are doing 10, it has to be 10, 10, 10. You know what we have now? We have 7, 5, 6. That's not aligned.
7th generation.
And when I talk about generation, before the generation company start talking about this, I think we need to make something clear. There's a difference between install capacity, which is your ability. Installation, they install your machine, they say, on this machine, you can do this. There's also a difference between actual, when you put all your raw materials together, in this case, maybe gas, what can go through the system?
So install capacity is 7.
It's in excess of 12,000 megawatts.
Installed capacity.
Yes.
But actual capacity.
Actual, that when they start the machine,
It's
they
7.
can run, provided that they have gas, which is an issue.
It's 7.
Why is gas?
Why
an
is
issue?
gas? Thank you.
The
Well, we produce gas.
Thank you very much. You all know about this case that happened recently. I won't go into that detail. That one, the one that took the government to court in England. Part of what they were meant to do, the issue of gas. You know, we fly a lot of gas. A country like this should not have problem producing gas. But remember, the gas suppliers.
No, we produce gas.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
We don't have any problem
We don't produce
producing.
enough. We don't have enough, and we sell a lot of gas outside.
Because we're selling too
We are
much.
selling. So the question that you be asked is, why are they selling out? Why not
Well, we
selling
need
to
it.
us? They are selling out because they make more money selling out. When they sell to the domestic market, they sell to people who are debtors. Why are they debtors? They are debtors because they are sending electricity into neighborhood and people who are not paying. If they don't pay, they cannot pay those who have to pay the gas suppliers. This go collect money, right? Now pay transmission and generation companies. Generation companies are only able to get less than half of what they are entitled to get. Same thing with transmission. Same thing with distribution. So it's a vicious cycle. We need to look at it in a dispassionate way without any sentiment. The truth of the matter is that how much does it cost to produce a unit of electricity? If a distributor of any product is buying it at 80 naira and you are forcing the same distributor to sell at 30 naira, there is a gap of 50 naira. So we have 3 options in this country. Option number 1, let people know the actual cost of electricity and pay for it.
Okay.
Strengthen the judiciary. Yes.
From 30-something to 80-something.
It's not from 30-something to 80-something. That 30-something is an anomaly, it's ridiculous, it's unrealistic, and it's not normal.
That is what you are saying.
So I'm saying that if the actual cost
Yes.
is 80 naira,
Yes.
I said we have 3 options. Let me explain this. Option number 1, let people pay the actual cost. But there will be,
Which is 80-something.
of the landing costs that will make the book right for everybody,
That was 80.
that will provide availability.
That's 80 naira per
Yes.
year.
Even,
Not like petrol now. If it is 80 naira, if the landing cost is 80 naira,
yes.
then one option is let people pay 80 naira. But you still have to deal with the issue of a person on 18,000 naira minimum wage, whose bill will be between 10 and 12,000 naira for 24-hour electricity. So that's one option.
He won't get 24 hours anyway, so let's
No.
not even
I'm
talk
saying,
about that.
Oh,
She's talking about
we
an
can
ideal
get to that.
situation.
In an ideal situation, okay.
It will get to ideal when the figures are right. when we're still deceiving ourselves, running around in debt, it can never get to that. So I'm now saying that option 1,
Okay.
let us
The
do
ideal.
the actual cost.
Okay. Option 2.
Option 2, so option 1 is let them pay, total. Option 2 is for government to step in and say, buy for 80, sell for 30, which is what they are doing now. They say sell for 30. The only thing they are not doing now is that they keep quiet on the 50 naira, in between 30 naira and 80 naira.
Yep.
Who bears that?
Yoruba say something on our own. Oja Loja Lanta. We are not the owner of electricity. Discos. We are distributors. Yamulika who buy bread and sell bread is not the owner of bakery. So you should bear that in mind and let's be sincere on this. Now, option 2, if you now say buy at 30, buy at 80, sell at 30, I will provide 50. So people, Nigerians, will not feel the effect. So you have cushioned it. That's what the government is doing with petrol.
Okay.
Because when people talk about petrol, are we paying the landing cost? We are not. That's one. That's option 2.
Option 3.
Option 3 is a mixture of both. That, okay, you are buying at 80. We make law, we insist that you should sell at 30. We'll find a way to bridge part of the gap, but we now need to increase the tariff, not from 30 to 80 for people, but we'll come in between, help our people, so that they will not be paying too much, while we are not going to leave more shortfall.
That's
what we have
subsidy.
had since November 1, 2013, when we came on board, and I'm happy I was part of that process. What we have had since then is that the shortfall has remained and continue to pile up. And those shortfall remain in the book of the people down the value chain, which is the discourse, generation, transmission, distribution. That toxic book means that they cannot approach any financial institution for loan to bring in more investment. Whereas to get what Chief wants, we need to deploy technology. If we deploy more technology into our system, you can catch more thieves, and we hopefully pray that the government will need to strengthen the judiciary because it affects them. But when every time we arrest, get the police to arrest a thief who is engaged in energy theft, the case can be in court for the next 2 years because a judge is encumbered with a lot of problems. So we need to look at how to solve the problem.
You've given a very lengthy submission
yes.
of the entire situation.
Yes.
The books are not right, the figures are not right, the people are crying, government is crying, the discos are crying. That's the summary of everything you said. The people are also crying that the discos, people buy transformers and discos claim is their own. They've been buying transformers for as long as I can remember. But the discos claim that they own the transformers, not the people that bought it. How is that so? But hold on. Chief, you've heard him.
Yes.
Why are the consumers not paying for the little lights they are getting? Why are they not paying? Why are they stealing energy?
Thank you very much, Nata. One, the consumer is not encouraged by the disco to pay, in the sense that, for instance, I've asked Chief, how much does 1 kilometer per hour or kilowatt per naira, how much does it cost? Then they will
let him answer. How much?
The normal cost should be nothing less than, is between 60 and 98 naira per kilowatt hour. But what people are paying is between 24 and 31 naira per kilowatt hour.
No, that's not what
that's why I was talking about shortfall.
That's not what I'm paying. I'm paying about 50 something. Yes, go ahead.
Now, the disco will now come, read the whatever that is transformer. I'm talking about people who, get estimated billing. They will now, the energy sales rep of the disco will now go there, write down the numbers, and now just unilaterally, according to what some of the consumers are saying, they will double it and now start giving crazy bill. Imagine somebody who got 9,000 this month, another 9,000 the following month, the next month 18,000. As at May bill has been distributed, he got 40,000 naira. So,
and it's not a carryover from there.
No, it isn't. That is the current charges. So the discos, because it's a monopoly, all they do is They just read the meter. Okay, this is how much we want to generate from this transformer. I mean, from the meter. We want to generate.
What about those I've told you about who bypass their meters in Ogba, near where you live? Tell us something about that.
But you are the ones to ensure that you bring equipments to ensure that you catch them. I'm not going to do that for you. So do a whistleblower thing, encourage people to report to you.
We've done
that. So we're talking about the fact that the consumers are upset with the discos means that they should go and steal?
I have not said that. I'm saying that they are not encouraging us by giving us the actual consumption that we consume.
And claiming what is not their own.
I'm claiming
why is it that people buy transformers and then the disco says their own? That's Oluwaseun is talking about.
It is still about the same thing I mentioned earlier on. Unfortunately, they say Ayeko thought truth is bitter. I just mentioned to you the vicious cycle that we have. You have 20 million people using something. You only know about 8. Out of 8, only 4 are paying. So 4 people cannot be paying for 20 people. Now, when you have a business that is perpetually in negative, what it means is that you will not be efficient. So the truth of the matter is that these codes are not efficient. Efficiency will bring in a lot of things, including being able to replace transformers quickly, replace poles, and we do a lot of that. So when the people buy
the transformers, are you looking at
now the issue of ownership?
Yes.
The issue of ownership that you're talking about, just a mere legal issue, which is that if I have to energize a transformer, the danger with this thing is enormous. If you, because in your neighborhood you contributed money to buy that transformer, you say, now my own, and now you get the place, have the key. If anything should happen to anybody in that community, they'll still come back to me because I'm the one that energizes it, that supply and put things on it. The moment you bring it in, I have to be able to have control over it. It is still yours. It is for your community. Whether the Zico buy it for you or you buy it for yourself, what you are using is still your asset in front of your house somewhere in your community. So that's the reason for that.
Okay.
But
well, we have lots and lots of tweets, but I'm sorry we cannot read all of them. You know, when it comes to the issue of power, it's something that every Nigerian is interested in. And even if we had 3 hours to discuss power, we'd still be here after 3 hours. Unfortunately, we just have to close the conversation here for today. For today, Chief. For today. So I just want to thank you for coming, Chief Deolu Ogunbanjo, President, Consumer Rights Advancement Organization, and Mr. Sunday Odunton, Spokesperson, Electricity Distribution Companies.
Thank you very much.
Otherwise known as DISCOs.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, they are the GENCOs behind them. Thank you very much, gentlemen. We shall continue this conversation at a later date. Fine. Sunrise will return with another interesting conversation. Sorry we can't continue about power, but we'll bring another interesting conversation to you in just a moment. Do stay with us.
Thank you for staying with us. So, indeed, we do have plenty of tweets. I have to read this one. Michael Makinde says, with regards to electricity, our problems are capital, mismanagement, and government policy as to the sources of energy. We need to privatize and allow the members of the public to buy shares to raise capital. That's coming from Michael. Sandra says, our billing in electricity forced me to get a prepaid meter. The fraud on Nigerians is Mado. That's coming from Sandra. Okay.
Get prepaid meter and you have peace. You pay for what you use.
Some level of peace.
Well, if the power is made available.
When the power enters, then anyway. So you're hearing some voices already.
Absolutely not.
No, it's not that it is cheaper. It's just that you pay for what you consume.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're hearing some voices, you're not seeing them because they have not really been officially introduced. So they're called the Unuedo Renaissance. They are the professional Somedo state. We'll be chatting with them as regards all the, the atmosphere in the weather in Edo State. We'll talk to them about the weather in Edo State. We have here in the studio Mr. George Etomi, founding partner, George Etomi and Partners, and a founding member of the Unuedo Renaissance. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
Also here is Joyce Daniels, daughter of Edo State, a public speaking coach as well. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me.
So let me start with you.
Yes.
Say ladies first.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll take it.
Let's start with you. You're the younger generation.
These days, I don't feel that way anymore. Now that I have an 18-year-old son, I don't feel like I'm of the younger generation
Yeah, but
anymore.
But if you're but if you're
Where
going to say
Judge
that,
is, I am
yes.
still exactly the younger generation.
Okay,
Yes.
so you're hearing all the things going on in Edo State and the socio-political atmosphere there. What would you say? What's your take?
I grew up very proud of my Edo roots, my Bendel roots. We were taught to be, and it was true, we're very intelligent, enterprising. We've always been super proud of our heritage. What's happening right now is disappointing to me. It's annoying to me. I think it will deter us from the important things that we ought to be growing towards. For example, education and economic development. We're trying to find better, faster ways to get things done. This is an unnecessary distraction that I am personally very angry about, and that's how I feel.
In other words, the politicians are a distraction.
The way the politics is being done is a distraction. Politicians are part of our being. We are all politicians. How you get married, how you choose your spouse is politics. How you choose the schools your children attend is politics. But the way the politics is being done is the distraction. That's how I feel.
Okay.
And you're not happy about that?
I'm not happy about it at all.
Mr. Tommy, you're considered a successful man from Edo State. But when you assess that entire situation, how do you feel?
Well, taking off from where, from what Joyce said, I am disappointed too. And that is because you need to understand the dynamics playing out in Edo State today. For those of us whose parents were the forebears when the then Midwest region was created, and created in a manner in which we were left like orphans to fend for ourselves, whose forebears identified the power of education, civility, and good living as what should be the trademark, the hallmark of the average Edo citizen. What we see today is a travesty, but we're not giving up, because what's going on today is about the Edo nation. And we will not allow anybody come and give us a name that's not ours, try to redefine who we are. The roots are solid. Now, to be particular, if I have time to espouse this, when in 1999 there was the return to civilian rule, a number of us Edo professionals who were disappointed with military rule like everybody else. We thought military rule was an aberration. Okay, civilian politics has come back. So we formed ourselves into a group, and we told ourselves that we will make our collective intellect available to any government by way of helping them formulate policies, give advice at our cost, nothing. And we spent sleepless hours. Incidentally, Governor Obaseki was one of the founding members of this group. And that was what we were doing. We engaged with H.E. Lucky Gbenedon's government at the time. Now, the results were mixed. Sometimes we got the traction we thought we could get, but many times we didn't get it. So we returned a bit frustrated, but we never gave up. But unfortunately, politics then went the way it did. And then suddenly this Godfather syndrome emerged from nowhere. And like, I don't know how to describe it, like something similar to what you find in the George Floyd thing, somebody on knees on the neck, and those citizens felt they were being strangled. And you need to know what is going on to see why many of us are passionate.
But the question would be, what is the conflict about?
That's what I'm telling you. That's the story that's developing. There is a history to this. Now, many of us couldn't sit back and watch this happen. And at that time, we said, look, Edo has never been godfathered. We are very independent people. We respect tradition, we respect authority, and all that, but we've never been dictated to. Because you must win me over with superior arguments. And then we now get to a point where our voices don't count. People speak for us and not speak about who we are. So we said no. So a number of us came together and said, you know something, we must play our own part to dismantle this godfatherism. This was the reason we identified Adams Oshomole. Because, give him credit, he has the verve in him and all that. And we just thought we could properly direct it. And he did a good job doing that. We dismantled godfatherism. And for that time, we said, no, don't take your eyes off the ball. So Godwin Obaseki offered to go and became the head of the economic team, 8 years pro bono. And what we were doing at that time was to direct policies. You know, one of the key things that's killing not just Edo State, but many states, is this FAC allocation. Every politics is around what's coming from the center. Nobody thinks about growing something outside of government. So we identified at that time that we needed to create an alternative economy. What is the secret to Lagos' success? The private economy is much bigger than government economy. So they can survive the kind of politics they play here, but not for Edo State. Now, we did that successfully. And even Oshomole himself identified that, look, for this to be consolidated, he was going to ensure that somebody who could carry the message on got into office. And don't take my word for it. All the clips are there for all the virtues he extolled about a man he worked with so closely for 8 years. So what went wrong? Why are we now suddenly where we are today? The same person? Go, the records speak. Why do you think Edo is behind him today? It's on the records. If it's about money, Edo State has never had money. And about him personally, you need to know him. He's a stingy person. He's my friend. He won't give money to anybody. And even when friends come to me to do something, he said, George, you can do it too, but my policy here is PSS. I said, what's PSS? Pay small. So, you notice the argument. Nobody is saying he chopped anybody's money.
No.
Nobody is saying he is not performing. So how do you then use your own hands to dismantle the winning team? You know, as I said, it's about your donation. And we will work with any vehicle that restores that pride and dignity of the Edo man.
It's about the Edo people, Joyce. And this conflict, the Edo people are the ones who are suffering right now. And I'm sure that what's first on your minds is how to settle this conflict, how to sort it out for the benefit of the Edo people. So, what are your suggestions as to how this conflict can be resolved?
My suggestion is very
just one.
simple.
Okay.
Defend her unity and uphold her honor and glory.
So help us all, God.
Above personal interests and above party interests. Is it easy to do? No. But the person who does it comes out on top. If the leader of the Edo polity, Adams Oshomole, will put Edo before
First.
party, we will be all right. And if Godwin Obaseki and all other players come together and, as it were, kiss and make up, give the virtual hug and the handshakes, we will be fine. How easy will that be to do? That's the next question.
But you see, when you say this thing, the names you mentioned, they are of that generation.
Yes.
But behind them,
Yes.
are people of this generation
Yes.
who appear to be fueling what's happening in that generation.
Yes.
How would that play out?
You know, some people are confused. Some are only doing what they've always known, not allowing what he said, superior reasoning to prevail. Some are scared. Some are just going with the flow. Anything they say, make we do, make we just they do. Keep quiet.
Some are just looking for something
Some
on
are
the
just
table.
looking for something. So where the economy is better for everyone, and we all know how to generate funds and monies for ourselves and are not dependent on stipends from government or other people, we begin to think better. Which is one of the reasons why I believe the Edu Professionals has grown this far. He's successful by himself. I am successful by myself. I don't need to get your money. That's on the one hand. On the other hand is principles and morals. Full stop. Some people have, you know, the number of times I have heard Nigeria is not good, Nigeria no good, Nigeria no good. I could have believed it by now. I should have believed it by now, but I refused since I was 8 years old. I will not believe it. Because I was standing under the sun, they were teaching us Ikosisikeleni Africa, about a man who had just been released from prison somewhere after he had been there for 20-something years fighting for his country. And all I was thinking about was, if he could fight for his, why won't I fight for mine? I was 8. And I stuck with it, but how many are like me? I know some people who have said, you know what, it's enough, I beg, we're tired of fighting, I beg, we will follow them. If you can't beat
Let's
them,
check out.
join them. So that's what's happening to some people of my generation. They have just gone with the flow. That's one of the reasons why I'm here, to speak up. This wasn't planned. I reached out to George yesterday from nowhere, and I said, oh, I want to get on channels or somewhere. I need to speak out. I'm too concerned, too intelligent, too enlightened to still be silent. And there are many like me. I'm just here to speak. Now, some young person is here.
Thank you for staying with us. We still have people tweeting about the power thing. People can never get tired of talking about power.
We can talk about it till tomorrow.
But right now we're talking about Edo. Mr. Tommy, this matter in Edo, preparations for the elections, particularly you being a lawyer, the governor was disqualified from running on the platform of the party that brought him in. Was it merited? If you wanted to look at it from even at that, what do the laws have to say about that kind of situation?
Well, it's a party's prerogative who they choose. But, and I heard the party quote the Supreme Court ruling. It was an obiter by Body Road Survival, JSC. But nothing he said there says that you can breach the rules of fair hearing, enshrined in the Constitution and the principles of natural justice, equity, and good conscience. The least you can do is not be a judge in your own cause. You recuse yourself. So if he had wanted to pursue it along those lines, he would have had a good case. But then I think he came to the conclusion that it was going to be misdirected energy. Because once you do that, you forget what the focus is, which is the people. The people require direction at this point. COVID-19 is a reset button. And you know what it has done? It has ensured that your oil flow isn't there, which means your FAC allocation over which we're all dying is going to be reduced. Mm-hmm. And the last one now is now gone to the 500s, from the 800s, 700. So you need to think outside the box. How am I going to grow this economy? And that's what Godwin Obaseki has been doing since he got there. He's been first education, like I told you. And look at, I'm sure you've heard of the Edo Best program. Do you know long before e-learning became fashionable, Edo Best was doing it at a primary school level. Dr. John Oviawe, who anchors it, has created this revolution. And that is why it's going to be so difficult to dislodge him, because parents are seeing the difference in the children who've benefited from it over the last 2 years, and those, their older siblings, within the same house. As I said, the difference is clear.
In fact, is
it true?
Is Is it true what we hear, that people are withdrawing their children from private schools and putting them in public schools in Edo?
I was just going to say that. Yes, it is true. Absolutely true. Because he has kept the cost of education down, quality high. All schools are wired up with internet. All teachers have tablets. Students, children are actually singing when they're leaving the house. When did that last happen? It was only nowadays. You look forward to going to school. Because school, before now, in Edo State, meant a breeding ground for ruffians. And that's why it is the same family, like I told you. There are parents with 4 children, some in primary 4, primary 5, struggling with their numbers. And then your primary 1 and 2 siblings are reading 1 to 100 backward and everything, and taking the computers and do what they're doing. Even for the parents, it's there for them to see. They're not going to allow any disruption. Now, I told you that you have to create an alternative economy. So we had started working on the privatization laws in Edo State, which was headed by the deputy governor, and I must pay tribute to him. And I'll tell you why in a second. Because I was in that group as a volunteer, so with people like Olu Akpata and all, some of us from the private sector, and we're looking at the laws to encourage privatization so you can begin to attract business, so you can build an alternative economy. The chair was the deputy governor.
Is he also a lawyer?
No, he's not a lawyer.
Okay.
Comrade Schweible. And then this problem of Edo State is just such a distraction. So in one of the meetings we went for, his colleagues, he used to be in the National Assembly, his colleagues came to see him, trying to convince him to ditch the governor. And he told them, no, this man he means well for the state. He's doing well. I work with him on a daily basis. I'm not telling you stories. Because our meeting was delayed, and when he came back, that's what he told Olu Akpata and I. He said, I told them to just forget this thing. Let us put our hands together. That's very instructive, and my respect for that man went up. And why am I bothering to tell you all of these things? Okay, look at COVID. Do you know what the governor did? He set up a COVID response team, and everybody, private sector, came in. My heart goes today to Pastor Itwa Igodalu, who just lost his wife, as you know. He was one of the anchors of the project. All of us from Edo are in. We've engaged the younger members of our generation. For example, in my family, we formed the Edo COVID committee. They told me COVID committee for Edo. And other families have done that, yes. If we don't take ownership of development, who will? We must direct the younger ones. And that's what Obaseki represents.
So
I was just going to say, across the board, from the older generation, here the comments about him, to these primary school students, there's an alignment of thoughts about the fact that he means well.
But let me bring this before you as you come in. Ellie says, I'm an Edo indigene, and I'm sure we will not teach our children to behave the way the adults have done. He says, we need to understand that progress without character is no progress. The governor has not shown character nor morals.
I was going to say that I don't know Obaseki. I've not met him before. Well, I've met him on stage whilst I was emceeing an event. That's all. A few years ago, I went home to my hometown, and I saw there were no teachers in the government schools. Well, there were not enough teachers. They said teachers had not been hired in over 11 years and XYZ. So I started with myself. I started hiring teachers and paying teacher salaries. Got a few other friends who were Edo in my hometown, yes. And in fact, one school was from the hometown next to mine, or the village next to mine. And I got a few friends who were Edo or not Edo, who I knew could afford it. I said, it's just 20,000 a month, 22,000 a month, here and there. Until such a time when one of the principals called me to say, teachers are coming in now. We're seeing some improvement. So this person you brought, somebody, I was like, oh, something is going on. I don't know the man. I know what is happening. Full stop. What he's doing.
Is the best program?
Uncle knows him. I don't know him. I'm not speaking for him. I'm speaking for what is being done, the progress. And we want to be faceless. I want to remain a faceless person. I want to recognize what is done over who is doing it. That's what I was taught is the Edo way or the Bendel way. Do it regardless of who you're doing it for. Be your best regardless of who you are serving. Now, in terms of the governor showing character or no character, I will speak as someone who has watched, observed, and made decisions. If you want something done, you find a way to do it. As long as it remains moral and legal, do it.
But he says that it's not moral. That's according to
The
Eddie.
character saying, oh, maybe he has moved from one party to the other. Now, I started asking questions for myself. Why was he disqualified and all of that? I've understood. And I can see how it plays out. Before he went in as governor initially, he couldn't find his certificates, which happens. See, we must come back to reality. Well, it's who we are. And he saw affidavits to say, I can't find them, but these are to show that I've been to school. But in the course of time, he found them and has said, these are the certificates, here they are presented. That's what is bringing conflict. And saying, well, so is that out of character? Let me tell you, after university, I was working in a boutique whilst waiting for NYSC because I needed to work and be busy. I had my phone with a girl in front of my father's house making phone calls to give me some extra cash because I wasn't dependent on my parents anymore by choice. Now, one of the days I got a call from nowhere saying, Joyce, your name is on a list of people who came into school fraudulently. And I was like, me? How? So you're going to sit before a panel, and they published it in the dailies and put it around parts of the school. It was horrifying. But I went there, I sat there, I faced the panel, and we were all treated as guilty from the moment hey, sit down there, all of you that want to come in. I was weeping well, because I'm strong. I didn't want to cry physically, but in my heart I was completely broken until we opened all the documents and realized indeed there was an error. My original identity number was maybe 172. But when somebody typed it out at my secondary school, which was a federal government girls' school, they typed 171. And I didn't notice. So there was a discrepancy. But when we brought all the originals, it was like, okay, it was a simple typographical error. You're free to go. The correction had been made. I asked a question on my way out. Are we going to still publish in the papers that I have been released? And they said, get out. Do you know how much it cost? So I went to Professor Nimi Briggs, who was then the immediate past vice chancellor. And I said, sir, it's unfair. I was published all over as being fraudulent.
And disgraced.
And now it should be, he said, the school, the cost, and this and that. For me, who's been through such a situation, hearing this now, I'm like, we've seen it before. So what's out of character there?
What's new?
What's new?
Mr. Tommy, elections are around the corner.
Sure.
You've said, both of you have said here, what's at stake is Edo people, is Edo. But you see an Edo person here who's saying that the person that you're all saying is doing well hasn't shown character or morals. The question is, who has shown character or morals amongst all the people that are going to run on all the platforms they are, as the case may be? So what should be at stake? What should the Edo people be doing or thinking or working towards?
As I've always said, this is about the Edo people. And they deserve, in my opinion, the very best that can be offered. I can tell you without fear of contradiction that the nearest person to who has helped us articulate these values since the late Samuel Ogbomudia is Godwin Obaseki. Many of the infrastructure had deteriorated in Edo before he came in. We had those buildings, those civil services, all had gone. Slowly, meticulously renovated. He's not started new projects. He's actually gone back. That's one of the sources of waste in Nigeria, because you want something new, you discard the old. And as I've told you, he's been able to identify. The ability to identify people who can enable you achieve is also a gift. And he does that. For Godwin Obaseki, it's not a cross-functional. If you come with him this XYZ he will speak to the person and all that. He's not asking you tribe, tongue, religion, whatever. He gets it done. That's the focus. That's who we are.
But you
Look,
said when you started that he was a very, well, I like to use the word frugal. You used another word. So if he's a very frugal person, therefore one shouldn't be surprised that he's able to harness the little that he has and achieve results.
Look, speak to those who work with him and all that. He drives them. When COVID shut everybody down, in under 1 week, they were all up. They're all zoomed out in Benin now, as I speak to you. And he monitors these things personally. Work hasn't stopped. He keeps going on and on and on. Look, you remember Chief Ike Clark came out in support of him. Do you know Ike Clark's basis? He was Commissioner for Education in the Midwest region when we were all in Egosa. Because I went to Egosa, so did Godwin. Godwin was 2 years my junior in Egosa. And all that. Chief Ike Clark, those were the days commissioners went to inspect schools. No paraphernalia. They were sneaking. They knew if principals were working. Godwin Obaseki is able to do that today, but this time he's online. So all these teachers that I'm talking about, they're able to monitor whether or not they are going to school. So there's a new verb. Now, I plead with all those who want to find fault. Nobody's perfect. I'm not here to extol anybody as though they were God. All I can say is that give a chance. You never change a winning team, as they say. Give a chance. Government is not just about those elected officials. Government is about me and you. Will you be able to count your own contribution? Okay, how many of them who are talking today have contributed to the COVID relief fund? It doesn't matter how much. Our children are doing that. Put your money where your mouth is before you ask questions.
All right. Thank you very much. We've been speaking to the Unu Edo Renaissance, the Edo professionals, represented by Mr. George Etomi, founding partner, George Etomi and Partners, and Joyce Daniels, daughter of Edo State. That's very, very apt, the policy coach. Thank you both for sharing your thoughts with us.
you.
We wish
Thank
you
really.
and Edo people well.
Thank you. And I want to say thank you to those of you in channels. You also have a role to play. I like the balanced role you play, because politics is all about enlightening the people we lead. Yeah. So I want to say thank you to you guys.
Thank you.
Thank
So as we'll be back for the home stretch, you don't want to miss this. Just stay with us. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you for staying with us. This is the home stretch, and we have two very special persons on this segment today. For those of you who are lovers of that long-running soap opera, Tinsel, I'm sure you know this couple. They are a couple on set, and they are a couple in real life.
Sorry.
And I'm talking about Florence Uwaleke Okechukwu and Ikechukwu Okechukwu. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Well, you may not recognize those names, but you will recognize Chooks and Ene. Of course, you remember Chooks and all his harebrained schemes.
Oh, well.
And Ene, who is ever there to put him on the straight and narrow. You are welcome, guys.
Thank
I'm
you.
so
Thank you
pleased
for
to have you.
Thank you for having us.
We are pleased to have you with us this morning. Now, let me begin with you, madam. Tell us, did you both meet on set?
Yes, officially we met on set, but we had gone to the same school, we're in the same department. We just never crossed, path until we met on Tinsel, and we had to play boyfriend and girlfriend, and
Who's
the
Tinsel?
rest. Unilag, University of Lagos.
Boyfriend and girlfriend on set, and then you became boyfriend and girlfriend in reality.
Yeah.
And then you became Mr. and Mrs. on set and became Mr. and Mrs. in reality.
Yeah, and then we had a kid on set, and then a daughter on set, and then we got a daughter in reality.
Yeah.
Oh God!
You did that.
No, I'm just imagining what the script writers will do.
I mean, Those script writers, what are they? Clairvoyants?
idea.
We don't have any idea.
Wait, okay, so let me ask this. Do they sometimes say, okay, Chooks, or
What do you think you do?
what are you doing right now? then when you finish it, they don't go write it down. Is that what happens, Chooks?
I don't know how to do it. Actually, those guys are. Is it Clive? I don't know, but they're quite good at what they do, and so far, they've been getting everything right. But right now, we're ahead of. We're
ahead of them.
We have a child, another kid.
You have a second one?
Yes.
They'll soon give you a second one.
Well, we just hope that someday they'll wake up and write that Chooks becomes a billionaire. And who knows in reality?
Who knows?
Yeah,
Fingers crossed.
I agree with you, girl. I agree with you. Now, you've been together for 7 years.
Yeah.
As Mr. and Mrs. Okechukwu. How has that been in reality, as opposed to the Mr. and Mrs. we see on screen, who are always at each other's throats? Because this man always comes up with, I don't even know how to describe it anymore.
Okay. Okay.
We call it the speech and the brain.
Yeah, I think that's very true.
You're right. You're right.
He's always been the wrong place over the world. Very true.
Chooks.
No, but
What do you think about it? I just can't get over it.
But in reality, his character as Chooks is totally different from who he is as Ike. Totally different. It's like he puts on the costume and he becomes Chooks. He becomes someone else, But at home, I can say the total opposite. Like, he's very into himself, he's calm, he's very calm and responsible, as opposed to Chooks.
That's what acting is all about.
Yes.
You put on that role and you become that person.
Yeah.
So
you are a totally different person at all.
Yes, funny enough, I find it hard to convince people that I'm not like Chooks. You see me, I say like, oh, Chooks, you doing that again, Abi? And I'm like, that's character, that's not me.
That's Chooks.
Yeah, but over time I've come to accept, in quotes, people's reactions and when they go, what are you up to now? Because they just believe that I'm that character. But it's fun playing character. Actually, the character is it's fun playing character.
So in part of the question I said I was going to ask you guys when I saw what the producers gave us was, how do you rehearse?
Oh, well. Okay, well, because I have her, it's kind of easy. Because when we get home, we get to see the scripts and they send the scripts to us. So we have, we can actually sit at home sometimes and read the scripts most times, But because of the way they churn out the scripts, you get on set, sometimes they give you a new script, and you might just have to read it on set. But because I am married to my fellow actor, I have the liberty sometimes to rehearse at home.
So improvise?
Yes.
You also do a lot of improvising?
Yeah, well, if the script
to an extent.
To an extent, yeah. Read at home and speak on set and still do
Have you ever had a situation where there was a conflict of interest based on home and on set?
Like, maybe you were having a fight at home and, kind of...
Yeah.
Honestly, it's never happened. I know it sounds too ideal, but
you fight all the time on set.
Yes, but like I said, he's totally different from Chooks. So we've never had any fight that, no, never. It's never happened.
And one of the things that we try to do is that if we have fights at home or have a,
disagreement
don't carry it to your job.
Yes.
Yeah.
We try to resolve it, even if it's in the car. You get,
On our way
we
to
try
work.
to
Because
resolve
we're going together to go and shoot anyway.
Yes. So that we make that effort to keep home, and to keep the work.
So have there been moments where, I'm just imagining, have there been moments where something you did on set or something you saw in a script helped you at home sort out some things?
Well, okay, well, for Chooks, I don't know, there's nothing to take home from that guy.
That's useless.
I mean, you get, because what I take from Chooks is that I know that he's one character that loves his wife. He does some really outrageous things, but in the end,
Yeah, like asking her to be kidnapped.
Well,
that's one I still can't wrap my head
that
around.
was a romantic gesture.
That was a romantic gesture in the way he thought about it. He wanted to kidnap his wife. and take her to, you know,
Just surprise her.
surprise.
Kidnap
you know,
his
kidnap,
wife.
you know, and all
And if
that.
I remember correctly, she fought the kidnappers and then the police arrived or
Oh,
something.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
and he
yes.
got
Oh,
arrested.
yes. And he got arrested.
Oh, Chuchu got arrested.
You get so, well, like I said, you see, there's so many things that you cannot take from that guy. But the only thing I can take from him is that he loves his wife. You know, in his weird way, he does.
Okay, so
Ike loves his wife.
Yes.
okay, so that one ties in. Okay, let's look at it this way. So a viewer, one of your ardent viewers, sent this message, a direct message, not on Twitter. So I should ask: is Ene is supposed to be a good cook, right?
Yeah.
In real life, is Florence a good cook?
I think he's.
No, hold on.
I was going to say he's in a better position to answer. the
Oh
question.
yes. Oh yes. I can proudly say, in my Igbo man's intonation, that she is a very good cook.
She's a very good cook.
Yes.
Okay. But then, Florence, is he in real life a stylist?
No, he's not a stylist. He can style himself-ish, but he's not a stylist. I'm the stylist in the
Yeah,
family.
she's the stylist in the family. She does it both of us. How am I to complain? And she does it pretty well.
Yeah.
But she's a fantastic cook. She is.
Even if you say so yourself. It's all right. Which husband is going to go out on national television and tell the whole world his wife is not a good
No
cook?
smart man would do that.
Right on. Otherwise, he'll have his things outside by the time he gets home.
So, as a couple in the same industry, have you been able to cope with the demands of your job?
Demanding what?
The demands of the job. You're both
Living
on the
home
same
for long
show.
periods for shooting and all
Have you
that.
been able to cope? Because the real life is different from make-believe. So, have you been able to cope? Have you been able to run through it?
I think for me, having a support system has really helped me, and that comes in the form of my parents, my mom, and my help. So when I do have to be on set for a long period in time, I have their support as well.
You know,
And
hold
then
on.
also,
You see, on Tinsel, you have this thing about your father being a support system.
it's actually my auntie.
On Tinsel, yeah, being a support. So you see, I told you there was something they were taking out.
Yeah, so apart from that, I think also having him working in the same industry kind of helps. In fact, it helps a whole lot. And then he knows where I am. He knows, okay, they say there's reset now, we have to rest, we're going on break. So when I use whatever term I use, okay, we're shooting a close-up, he understands what I'm talking about. So there's no kind of
No ambiguity.
no ambiguity. He knows everything. He knows where I'm going to. He knows when I'll be back. If I say we have like 3 more scenes to shoot, we've not started, he understands. He can say, okay, that will take like 4 or 5 hours. So it's like, it makes things so much easier.
But Chooks, have you thought about maybe breaking out, doing something else
Oh, yes.
away from her?
Oh well. Oh, well, actually, I've come up with, okay, we have a production company right now, like 1704 Productions, and we're into 1704, 1704 Productions.
Okay.
And we just did a TV series, an online series, a 5-episode series, actually showing on African Magic right now. And we've done some shorts films before. Aside that, I started this online comic store called African Comics. That's what I did on my own. I started it, but she saw it, she loved it.
And she's in.
And she's in. You get so most times whenever we come up with ideas, she's like my soundboard, you know. I tell her, she tells me this. Next thing, we're working on it together, and you know. So
Okay.
to answer that question, I don't think there's anything I do that is really aside, you know, that I don't do without her.
So
Okay.
tell us what is the biggest challenge you've had being a couple on set and being a couple in real life?
Can you think of
Do we
any?
have it's your question, not mine.
Oh, ouch. The biggest challenge. I don't think I can. I can't think of any at the top of my head. Like,
Florence, let me say this in pidgin. Florence, you dey lie. You know if you tell me say after how many years of
I can't believe it. No, but really, I would think that if there was really a challenge, as in if you want to just ask me, it
remember.
will come to mind, and then because it's not coming to mind, then I can't be lying.
You just
can I?
Okay.
Just enter
All right,
character.
Florence. Apart from Tinsel, have you acted in any other, like a movie, for instance? This is a soap.
Yes, I have. I have. I did 2 movies, yes, last year. Oratory and Badamasi.
I'm not even sure that I would recognize you.
Yeah, I get that a lot.
Yeah, because I just saw that today. I was wondering,
I'm not
is she
sure
the
I would
same
recognize
person?
you in any other role apart from Ene. Because you're so Ene
Yeah,
that I
know.
can't imagine you being anybody else but Ene.
In fact, there was a day I went to supermarket without my wedding ring, and a woman actually accosted me. That was before we got married. She scolded me like, "Where's your wedding ring?"
Before you got married in real
Yeah,
life.
before I got married to him in real
You
life.
said, but I'm not married.
Yeah, but I was still, joking. I was like, "Oh, it's at the goldsmith." She was like, "No, don't tell me that. You always have to. Why will you go around without your wedding ring? Why?" So a lot of people they've gotten so used to.
And they had even married
Ene.
you off to him before you actually married him.
It was a done deal for them. So.
So what if you had married somebody else?
I don't know. I can't imagine it.
Oh, isn't that sweet?
Okay, we have to go on a very quick break. When we come back, we'll look at what next for this wonderful couple. To stay with us. And that's delight.
She will kill person.
Okay, so now that happens to be a couple, real life couple as well, right?
Yeah.
So did they ask you guys for tips before? Because obviously you got married before them. They ask you for tips when they started dating in real life.
I don't think they need to. You're just looking at us, That's enough tips.
That's enough.
Just looking at us, I guess we're like their model.
I hope we can drag that couple here when it's asking.
Right, and so what's in the future for you?
Oh, wow.
I don't know if that's you singular or you plural.
It's plural.
Okay,
So
all
it's
right,
plural.
fine. So it's you plural.
Yeah.
So before you go there,
Okay.
just quickly, what do you do besides acting?
Okay, well, I direct and she produces. And I'm also into comics. Like I said, I have an online platform where we actually sell online comics.
So what do you do? Cooking?
No. No, I produce as well. Like film has always been our love. Like it's been our bonding factor. I mean, we both study theater arts, so it's been in our life, life plan for as long as I can remember. So it only goes without saying that we toe that line.
Okay, so what's the future plan?
The future plan is to make bigger and better films. I mean,
TV.
we're so passionate about filmmaking and TV that I don't think I can see my future without it. It's right there. It's right there.
Are you a comedian, by the way?
I get asked this question a lot of times, and I always tell people that I'm more of a comic than a comedian, because I feel, from my own definition, I feel that comedians are they say funny things. By comics, they do funny things, and for me, I believe I'm a comic in terms of my facial expressions, in terms of the way I deliver the lines, my actions, and all that. I make people laugh that way.
I'm not talking about on set. I'm talking about in real life.
In real life, yeah. Yes, a lot of people. She's been trying to convince me to go full time, to toe that line, and I've been considering it.
Oh, you have been?
Yes.
Okay.
I have.
All right.
I
So
have.
we're
Do you have an
expecting.
advice for a guy who has a colleague that he's working with and he's thinking of? What would you say to him?
Well, if your heart, if your heart, because for me, if it was either her or no one else at that point in time, it was her. I was really into her. I loved her personality. I loved her charm. I loved her, and I remember the day she made me act her out. She came to me and she told me,
made you ask her out.
Yeah,
I was
stalling.
stalling at the point. I don't know why. I don't know why. I really don't know why. But she came to me and she told me that her parents wants to marry her off to a guy who's in
Australia.
Australia. And I was like, marry you off? no, I want you, I want to date you, I want to. And that was where I decided to tell her how I felt and all that. So
It took her prompting for you to come out with your intentions.
Sometimes we guys can be
Chicken.
well.
I need a nudge or two.
So
Wait,
would you,
call
would
a
you
spade a
advise
spade,
any
you were
lady
chicken.
who had a guy like that to do the same thing you did?
Yeah, but I knew he wanted us to go out. I knew the signs were there. I could see it. I felt it. I mean,
even though you didn't have the courage to say it.
yeah. So I just felt like I need. For me, it was. I'd gotten to a point where I said, okay, if he doesn't take action right now, after I said this to him, then I'll just move on with my life. So when I said that, he got threatened, and as you know,
He beats bait.
yeah. So if a girl notices that, it will help the issue, then just nudge him.
Help him
just
along.
a bit, yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chooks and Ene, Mr.
Yeah.
and Mrs. Okechukwu.
Yeah.
It's been fun having you. Thank you
you.
very
Sorry,
much
Mr.
for coming.
Mrs. Obi and Mr. and Mrs. Okechukwu.
Yes.
And that's where we draw the curtain on today's show. Thank you for spending this time out with us this Saturday. I'm Alera Edu, wishing you a very happy weekend. And please stay warm. The rains are here. The cold is here. And stay out of trouble. And don't forget, coronavirus. Stay safe.
I'll start from that point. Stay safe. Please observe the protocol, social distancing, wear your mask, wash your hands as often as possible, sanitize. Don't go out unless you need to. Call a friend, call a neighbor, find out how they are doing, send a text message, do something to show someone you care. You don't have to go to show that you care. Pray as well if you know how to pray. And please stay safe. I'm Neo Tagbe. Be the best you can be. See you next week Saturday.